Next up on our list, couple of extensions here. CJ McCollum extended 2 years, $64 million with the New Orleans Pelicans. When CJ got to New Orleans, he was clear. He was adamant. He said he sees New Orleans as a long-term home, and he was very happy to stay. I don't know, man. I think it's pretty cool that here we are. CJ McCollum, 2 years, $64 million. Man of his word. He's going to be around the Zion Williamson, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, Brandon Ingram core for 3 more years, realistically.
It's a good deal for New Orleans to be able to keep him around, just given the fact that they gave up a decent amount in order to acquire him. That anytime you go out there and you sell some assets to get a veteran win-now player, you want to make sure you don't just have him as a rental. And extending McCollum for those couple extra years really helps. You'd mentioned, Sam, keeping the core together and a lot of those young guys who are signed long-term. Like McCollum is now in New Orleans through 2026. So Zion's there till 2027 with his new extension. Brandon Ingram through 2025. Murphy and Dyson Daniels are on either 3 or 4 year team-controlled, team-friendly deals. This is a really appealing long-term fit and destination that, if the pieces really look good once Zion is there, they're going to have things rolling for the next several seasons.
Yeah, and you bring up the idea of having this core together. And I think that CJ is one of those players as a guard that, while I have some concerns about how all of these pieces fit together long-term, just in terms of getting all of the disparate skill sets on the court together at once, CJ is a guy that kind of actualizes all of this because of his shooting ability, because of his shot creation ability. He's almost a perfect fit for a guard to play next to Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson, I think. Someone that can be a little bit unselfish, but can also go get his when he needs to. Someone that can space the floor for Zion and for Brandon to be able to get into the mid-range. Someone who, as we saw when he got to New Orleans, really developed a little bit more as a passer and playmaker than some of what we saw in Portland for the most part throughout his career. I really like this. I think, again, this is a situation where you re-sign a veteran to actualize some of the young players on your roster and give them a better developmental situation than what they previously had. I think this is a win for New Orleans, unconditionally. And this is a situation where CJ is taking a little bit less than what he's making now, just in order to lock in and make sure that he's set long-term here.
Yeah, he's signed until he's 35, which I think is the incentive for him to lock in those 2 extra years. Is, it's that financial security over the long run. We're talking about a new CBA, a new television deal in the next couple of years. Maybe that changes the value of the back end years of this contract in relation to some other players around the league. He was really good for New Orleans after they acquired him. I mean, 24 points, 6 assists per game. That was obviously with Zion out of the lineup. But like you said, the fit as a floor spacer and as a guy who can go out there and create his own is something that a younger team still trying to figure out how the pieces fit really need. A veteran who might know when to go pick his spots and score, who can play off the ball with all of those guys. And he's just a really, really smart basketball player. That's something that I've always loved about CJ McCollum. And for this team that has a lot of natural talent and younger guys on it, having somebody who can play with the ball in their hands and make good decisions, invaluable.
Yeah, and look, there are some defensive concerns here. A lot of the Pelicans' better players are questions on defense right now. CJ has his limitations just in terms of his athleticism and size. Brandon Ingram, his limitations in terms of defensive awareness and being consistently engaged. Zion is just not good on defense right now for whatever reason. After being a monster on defense at Duke, he's just not, he was not good, be it conditioning, be it whatever you want to say over the course of his early season. Will Guillory at The Athletic had a really great story about some of the things that Zion is doing this offseason to work on his conditioning, which I thought was really great to see. There is some concern, I think, there, but again, the Pelicans have done a really good job of getting guys like Trey Murphy, like Herb Jones, that are good defenders to maybe surround those guys with. maybe at some point they have to move one of these 3 core pieces they have, but that's a problem for down the road. I think that you sign CJ McCollum and move forward and be happy with it.
Yeah, it's a win for both sides for me. Love to see that happen. I'm so intrigued by the Pelicans and what they've built and the roster that they have. The combination of positionless pieces with guys who excel in one or two particular areas. Just going to be a fun team to watch this year. And I know we talked about it before, but I got to say it. Willie Green does an unbelievable job of making all of the pieces work. Just an incredibly smart coach. And I love just everything this team's doing.